Members and supporters of the South Bunbury Football Club, we are fortunate today to interview one of our champions in Olys Kowal. As well as a champion footballer for South Bunbury, Olys was regarded as the best volunteer fireman in WA, where he won 10 state championships between 1972 and 1983 and was especially revered for his process in ladder events. Such as his incredible record in voluntary firefighting and football, Olys was inducted into the Goldfields Sporting Hall of Fame in 2023. Welcome, Olys Kowal.
Thanks, Watto. Pleasure to be here.
So before we ask questions regarding your football, Olys, can you please share with our members your achievements in the WA Volunteer Fireman competition?
Yeah, well, I can, but I don't know the exact dates or anything like that, and I don't know exactly how many, but I started off in 68. I ran 1 year with Norseman in 68, and then I went to Perth. I went away to Perth and went back in, I think it was end of 1971, or after Easter 71, so ran again in 72, and that was the year I won my first champion fireman. And that was mainly due to a fella called Harry Kerr, who was our post manager then, and he took over from his father Bill. And because I'd worked with PMG up and down ladders and stuff like that, he got me over there and said, well, you're working on them all the time. Go and see how you go running up that. And again, it's been in the right place at the right time. We had a fella there by the name of Brian Willoughby, and he was one of the most consistent, not the fastest, but most consistent laddermen that we had. And he got hold of me and showed me the ropes, and away we went from there. That was in 72, and after that, the story lengthens because we left North and came down to Bunbury. But I took up with Bunbury, and more importantly, I took up with a fellow named Colin Bassett, who was a great mate of mine, and he was probably one of my best mates because we went back years. I remember I was about 9 years old. Colin Bassett used to come and pick me up at my house, and bearing in mind, our place backed onto the footy oval. So Colin would come from his place to my place and pick me up, run round the corner to the footy oval, then I'd carry his Gladstone bag in to the change rooms. And he said, whatever you do, mate, blue and white, stick with blue and whites. So I hooked up with Colin back here, and we, 73 wasn't a good year. I got beaten by a fellow named Ray Willis from Kalgoorlie, South Kalgoorlie. He was a top runner and a really decent bloke. I went and said to Colin, I need your help, mate, and can you work with us? He said, yep, anything you want. He said, but if you don't put in, he said, I'll drop you like a hot spuck. So we worked hard for the next 10 years, and I won another 9, or another 8 actually, yeah. So
amazing achievement.
that was that. I don't know about the local ones. I won one in the Goldfields, obviously. I don't know how many Southwest champion firemen I won. I know I did down at, was at Boyup of all places. It was a zone demo, and I actually equalled Dudley McGill's ladder record of 6 seconds there. So other than that, I've never kept records and I've never kept photos.
Could you tell the members and supporters where you commenced playing footy and your journey to South?
Yeah. Like I said, our place backed onto the footy oval, so it was just going to happen. I started playing juniors in Norseman. Don't ask me what year, but I played with the Norseman Colts. There was Colts, Warriors and Royals, 3 teams, so I played with them. 14 going on 15, they decided that they'd give me a run in there was no reserves. You're either juniors or seniors. They decided they'd give me a run in the seniors. So I was in my 15th year that year, and that's when I had my first run of seniors. And that would have been about, couldn't work it out. So Bob Harvey was coach at the time, who is Lynn's uncle Bob. Very, very hard man. and very, very team orientated. You didn't dare do anything outside team rules with Bob. And I know he used to have a saying back then, look after the young blokes. If they get hit, you're too slow. And that was one of the things that was really ingrained into me, was you could do anything with the old blokes, anything at all, but the young blokes had to be looked after. They could be tackled and all that sort of stuff, you know, but no thumping. If anyone got thumped, they got carted off. And that's what Bob was like. And he was ahead of his time, I thought, too, because he was doing stuff then, you know, like building frames. Remember the frame that we had here that Brent Roberts ran into that night?
Yes.
Yep. He was building them back in the early 60s.
Wow. Before his time.
Yeah, so he was well ahead of his time, and all the stuff to build you up and strengthen you up. They don't do any of that now because according to all the fitness gurus now, that's all whole wives stuff now, but it worked. And so went through there. I played for Rovers, obviously, because they're blue and white. That's who Colin Bassett told me to stick with. So I was never going to play for anyone else. But I played till 68, and in 68 I went to Perth. I had a run with the Perth Colts up there. It didn't work out. I wasn't ready from the neck up at that time, and it didn't work out. And it's another one of those things, and I say to the young blokes nowadays, if you get a chance, give it your best shot, because if you come back to me years later and tell me I wish I had, you know where my boot will go. Because I had the opportunity, wasn't ready for it, didn't take it. And that was, so I was there for just 68, and then I left Perth Footy Club. Graham Bassett tried to recruit me to Barndee, which is just out of Merredin. And unfortunately, it was the wrong time of year, so that didn't happen. And I finished up in Kalgoorlie. Rather than playing Kalgoorlie, I was going back to Norseman. In 71, we joined the Goldfields League. So I played with the three teams in Norseman, Tigers, Towns and Rovers. They all disbanded and combined. So I played for the Dundas Demons, as they were known then. And played in their association team that year. We went up to Merredin and played Eastern Districts, I think, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah, Eastern Districts, that's right.
You'd know, you played for them.
Eastern Districts.
And that was one year that they said they hadn't beaten Eastern Districts for several years, so we knocked them off that year. And a fellow by the name of Brian McGregor was the coach. He coached Boulder at the time, and I remember he came down halfway through the year. Jeff Fradd was our coach. Always felt a bit sorry for Jeff because he knew what he wanted and he knew how to go about getting it. He didn't have the player backing. And I remember we got beaten by, because we'd go well for half a game, weren't fit enough. So after half time, they'd run us over by about 10 goals. McGregor come into we used to always go up to the Norseman pub after that, have a couple of beers. And McGregor got up on the bar. I'll never forget it. He's a mountain of a man. Got up on the bar and he yelled out, "Can I have your attention?" And everybody turned around and he said, "Until you mob realise that you're no longer Towns, Tigers and Rovers, that you are now Norsemen and start thinking Norsemen," he said, "you'll never win a game." And that's something that's always stuck with me, because you hear of a lot of clubs, they amalgamate and they take years to get it together because they're still fighting each other. Yeah. So from there, history will show that I came down here in 72 after the state championships and to meet my mate John Whitfield and Barbara, and things went from there.
So that's your journey to South.
That's my journey to South.
And always going to play for South.
Well, I wasn't going. I didn't come down here with intentions of playing for South. I came here for a couple of days break. Friday night, of course, up to the footy club we got to go. So I come up here, I walk in the door. Half a Norseman's in here. There's Alec Benj and Brian Bastow, Georgie Sharp, you name it, they're all in here. And a couple of beers, and next thing you know, they're in me, and I thought, rather than just saying flat no, I'll make it impossible for them. So I just said to them, I said, righto, if you blokes can find me a job, somewhere where Lynn and I can live and bring me furniture down, I'll come down. Not think about it, I'll come down. And that was on the Friday night. We got home on the Sunday. On the Wednesday, there's a phone call at the butcher shop. Oh, phone call for you. Hello? G'day, Al. Sid Armstrong. How you going, mate?
Sid Armstrong.
I nearly died. I said, how you going? What's up? He said, well, we've got you a job and a place. When are you ready to move?
Oh.
I said, Sid, I haven't even talked to my wife yet. So I had to go home that day and talk to Lynn. She never said anything. I think she cried for 3 months, but she didn't say anything. So that's how we finished up in Bunbury, and I finished up playing for South.
South, well, we're very lucky.
Yeah.
Over your career, Ol, who were the players you admired the most? There's so many.
That's very hard, because I admired most blokes that pulled a boot on for a club. There's a lot of players that stood out from a lot, but there's a lot of people that I admire here more than anything else, and they were the Constantines, the Armstrongs, the Davies, Duper, Pike. You know, they were the heart and soul of this club.
So true.
And I think a lot of the people miss that point. You know, the Buswells and all those, the club ran around them. The players did what they did because they liked doing it and they wanted to do it. And yeah, there was a lot of them that I did admire. Rendell, very smart, very, very smart footballer. Obviously Peaky, Roger Bott was outstanding. The standout, obviously, is Leon Baker. Everybody will tell you that. He was just one out of the box, and whoever coached him at a young age did an absolute marvellous job with him, because his demeanour on the footy field was second to none. They could do anything they wanted to him, and it just didn't worry him. I remember saying to him one day, I can't even remember who we were playing, and he was getting scragged, ragged, punched, kicked, everything. And I said to him one day, I said, just backhand them. And he said, he said, while they're doing that, I'm getting the ball. And that was his nature, and he was fantastic. Well, it's proof, isn't it, from where he went. Alan Prosser was another one that I'd love to have played more games with Alan Prosser, because he was another one. He could drill you from 50 metres either foot, and I would defy anyone to say which was his preferred side.
Wow.
Very, very good. I'll never forget the day our friend over here, Oldie, we were playing Mines Rovers. They had Big Ronnie Webster. Yeah. Well, Big Ron was a big tough man from East Perth, and Oldie had him squealing to the umpire because he couldn't do anything. Oldie was too strong for him. And yeah, you know, so I hats off to Oldie he carried this club for a long time, and then he butted up with you.
Yep.
You made a good combination, you and he.
Made him look good.
You made him, well, he was saying exactly the same thing to me a minute ago.
Yeah.
But there are a lot, and like I say, that all the players. One thing I did notice when I came to this club and first started playing was you had to prove yourself before you were actually openly accepted. And I reckon I played for 5 or 6 weeks, would have been 5 or 6 weeks before anyone of note came over and said welcome.
Right, yep.
And I realised then that you had to prove yourself before you were accepted. You know, it was always g'day and how you going and that, so I thought tough club.
Oh, can you share some of your favourite memories and standout moments during your career at South?
Gee whiz, how many? I remember my first game playing here, and that was, I wouldn't say it was a standout, but it was, you know, pulling on the red and white jumper, running out for the first time, everybody yelling. I can remember that game. That was in 72. We actually got through to the grand final in 72, and I thought we had a good shot at winning that. Unfortunately, Collie had other ideas, and they beat us by a point. Only because someone kicked a goal from the half-forward flank with a torpedo punt. Bloke by the name of Shepherd.
Right. One of those memories of the famous 1976 grand final win, when you moved into the centre to play on Terry House, and you went on and won the Pike medal, so that must be a great memory.
That's a distant memory, Watto, because I don't know if you know, but I actually got KO'd in that game. So a part of that game's missing. But Pike come and saw me on the Monday at training, called me in, and he said, I want you to think about this. He said, because Sunday you're in the middle, you're playing on Housey. And I thought, geez, we've got some good sentiment, you know. But Pike obviously knew that there was something between me and Housey, and he knew Housey wasn't going to hang around me too long. So, you know, I had all week to prepare for that. And things worked pretty well because Housey came nowhere near me at that stage, and which allowed me a lot of freedom in the middle. By, yeah, 3/4 time it was all done, but in the last quarter I can remember going for a mark for a kick out on the scoreboard side. Next thing the lights went out. And the only thing I can remember after that was Rendell yelling out, get him off. I keep telling him now it's only because he wanted another kick. But yeah, so half of that last quarter is missing. But look, it was great for the club because Harvey Brunswick were a very, very good side. Housey was coaching them, and obviously he was a good coach for them. And they were going for their third in a row. We were the only thing standing away. And going back to the start of the year, Doug Pete was actually our president at the time. Phil Crabb went and had a talk with Doug and said, got a proposition for you. I'll take over president. You take over the coach. And it was a great move because it worked. And like I said, they had a really, really good side. Mick Leroy, Wallazak, you name them, they had them. And I remember that day, not so much my game, but Graham Cruikshank. He played a ripper that day. I think he kicked about 5 goals.
Champion.
So Ross Marr played on Mike Leroy. Now, Leroy was 12, 18 inches higher than Ross, but Ross made him look second rate because he read the play and cut him off every time. You know, they're the sort of things that stand out more in my mind than that. You talk about the Pike medal. Yeah, I'm really happy that it was me that was the recipient of Les Pike's medal, but quite easily it could have been Rossi Marr, it could have been Graham Cruikshank, because they all put in outstanding efforts that day.
Very humble. Your son's Darren's career with South, playing in Claremont's 1991 Premiership side, and then 100 games with AFL side Melbourne. Must have been very proud for you and Lynn.
Tough road.
Tough road.
Tough road. His first year here was 98, I think. Premiership?
Yeah,
89, not 98. 89?
Yeah, 89.
Premiership. And then not so good the next year. And then Claremont got hold of him, wanted him up there. And I do think in hindsight he would have probably been better off staying another 1 or 2 years with Neesham, because Neesham was on the right track and trying to build him. Melbourne were after him. Had John Northey stayed at Melbourne at the time, would have been a different kettle of fish too, but that's wasn't to be. I admire Darren, and I'm really proud of what he's done, because he played 105 games at Melbourne and pretty much got no help. And I say that because his coaches, to my mind, thought, well, they've got this far, they don't need my help. And like he was probably 2 years behind what the average city kid is. And had he been, like I said, had he stayed here with Neesham for another 12 months, 2 years, he might have turned out a lot more. He was never an aggressive sort of a fella, and they didn't teach him how to use his pace. So, but he played 105 games for Melbourne. He came back from over there, back to Claremont, and finished up playing 105 games for Claremont.
Fantastic career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our loyal supporters and members, just to finish up?
Look, to me, this club was built on absolute blood, sweat and tears of the older members. this clubhouse that we're sitting in here now wouldn't have been here if it hadn't have been for those. When I came here, they'd only just opened this in 71. They still had the Southway Hall, which was their main hall across from the Highway Hotel. And if you have a look at the footage and photos of the people that came up here and dug and worked and put in voluntary work to get this place built, you realise just how involved they are. And I still say, I come and had a chat with a group of young fellas here, and I probably went overboard, but one of the greatest clubs in Australia, bar none. You know, we all look at the VFL, the AFL clubs and the big clubs and that, but this is just as good as that. We've got as much here as what a lot of those clubs have got, and this club's got heart and soul. Always has had. And I just think that now we need to look more at fostering the younger ones through, because young people nowadays, more than ever, need somewhere where they can go, bond, learn a little bit about life. And I think football, any team sport really, teaches you that. You learn your ups and downs, you learn to get on with people, you learn what the rules are and you work within those rules. And that's no different than when you go out to work, and I tell all the kids that. You know, I just think this club here has always been a go-ahead club. I forgot to mention one other bloke too, Doc Mania.
Yep,
You know,
famous.
absolutely. He would do anything to keep you on the track, old Doc. It's only a bruise, keep going. And then you come off and find out you got broken bone. But no, look, I've always admired this footy club. Actually, there was one earlier on. There was one funny story when I came here, because Fire Brigade was my passion, and I used to not do pre-season. I used to do Fire Brigade. I used to run up and down the track and ladders and hydrants and all that sort of stuff. Young fella come over there one day. He said, "Hey, they want to see you upstairs." I said, "Oh, righto." So I go up here, and all the dignitary boys are up here and sitting down, and summoned me over. I walked over and they said, "We got you down here to play football, not to run Fire Brigade, so we'd rather you out on the footy oval than the Fire Brigade track." And I said, "Well, look, from the end of football season through to Easter is very important to me." I said, "So if you don't like it, I'm off." And I turned around and started heading on. "I'm sure we can work something out." Otherwise, it would have been a very short stint.
So true, mate. Well, just on behalf of all the past players, we'd just like to acknowledge and thank you for all your support that you used to give us during your games. You know, if ever there was a melee, you were the first one in to stand up for us, and we really appreciate that.
That's only because I didn't know which way to run, what I...
No, mate, if we were going to battle with anyone, one person we wanted right alongside us is yourself, mate, and we thank you for that, and we're just so thankful that you were one of our teammates, and thanks for coming today and seating Olys.
And likewise, what, eh?
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, pleasure.